Hello, and welcome to the Wellness Talk, a thought-provoking platform where we dive deep into the mental health and wellness issues that are affecting our society. This is a safe space for open conversations, healing, and transformation. I am your host, Coach Boby, and I'm not alone. I'm going with my favorite colleague.
Hello, Boby. Yes, my name is Nteso, and I'm so to and I just want to welcome you once again. If you do have a friend and you know that you would love to hear what we're going to talk about, please do call that person because we are going to have so much fun. But before we dive into our conversation today, I want to ask you something. You know, today when I woke up, I took the kids to the school.
Yeah.
And after dropping them off, I just felt like, hey man, get in the wait. And then the kids were like, are you okay, auntie?
Wow.
I'm like, well, I'm not too sure, but I'll be fine, my baby.
I'm glad you mentioned that because this is what this topic is all about today. We are discussing mother wounds, a silent, unspoken pain and unmet needs that affect our self-worth, our relationships, and how we view the world. So in studio today, we have our amazing guest, Coach Ditshego and Reverend Fezile.
Warm welcome.
Yeah, well,
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so how are you feeling today?
Oh, this one is very touchy because it always involves
Yeah.
another person, which will be the mother in this case. So sorry, Mom. We talked about this, but it has to be out there. That's what healing is all about.
Yeah.
You know,
It's true,
It's
it's
not by
true.
acknowledging and then we lay things on the floor and then we take it from there. So yeah, we do have permission from Mom.
I think just before we dive deep into our conversation, just to remind our viewers that this is a safe space where survivors share their stories and experts offer insight, and together we actually spark solutions. So if you can just introduce yourself a bit so that they know who you are before we continue with the conversation.
All right, so my name is Ditshego Maqaqa, ke ngwanyana wa Mopedi wa Moxhosa. So I am born Pedi and I'm married Xhosa. So luckily I speak both languages fluently. I pride myself in that. Blessed be the Lord. So I am a life coach, career coach, marriage counselor. You name it, I am it. But mostly, I think my biggest hat that I love the most is that I'm a child of God. And over and above that, in the corporate space, I am a training and development specialist. So yeah, that's that in a nutshell.
And oh, Papa.
I would like also to greet our viewers and you guys. As she has said, my name is Fezile W Maqaqa. We are pastors at Evh'a Female Transformation Center. It's based in Centurion. I'm also a life coach. I'm a speaker, obviously. I'm a professional counselor. I'm a businessman. And those are my heads. She has already explained that she's married Xhosa, so obviously I'm married Pedi. Later in the years, I managed to start speaking the language as well. So I speak both languages as well fluently.
I'm going to start with Coach D, right? I want you to actually take us to your journey. How do you relate with this topic that we're talking about? It is a sensitive topic, mother wounds. And I think sharing your story before we get to the expert side will really help the viewers to understand more. Yeah.
Correct. So I always say that just because we call it a wound, it does not have to be a seeping wound, like it's gross and it's so bad, right? So in my case, I am brought up in a family where I have both my mom and my dad. They're still married to this day. Blessed be the Lord. So I grew up in this household where my mom believes in beating up a child. The Bible says that train up a child in a way that they should go, but my mom beats you up, okay? I believe in discipline, but my mom believes in if you're sitting here and it needs to be solved now, you get in the back of her arm and like slap. And I did not understand this because I know my mother loves me, but why are we not talking about it? But then when was I born? In 1986. So in the early 90s, we're not talking to kids The kids are given an instruction and the kids must follow. And if you don't follow, you get a beating. So that wounded me.
Yeah, because a wound is not like not having a mother, but it relates to having a mother where criticism and neglect and emotional unavailability.
I think you said it nicely earlier to say it's a need that's not met. Right? So in my case, I needed a mom that could sit me down and say, I don't like this, I don't like that. How can we go about it? Instead of her shutting me up with a slap, you know? And it got to a point, I'm going to tell you how it stopped over the years because I just got fed up with it.
But before we get to that part, because I think someone is a bit confused with hi man. So how do you explain how this thing it has actually wounded you?
It wounds you. I know that it's a wound because if your only solution to every misbehaved child is beating up. And there's beating up and there's beating up, right? She did not beat me up into a pulp to a point where I was almost dying, but I felt like, but did this one also deserve a beating? And it turned me into a child who would go and do something so that it will be worthy of the beating. And that's how I know it's a wound. Wow. Because now I started saying, okay, if I'm going to be beat for things that I don't believe that I should be beaten for, then let me do something that will. And I'll give you an example. I'll take a canister of sugar, I'll put water in it and I'll start cooking, right? And then I'll take that when I know my mom is about to come back and I'll go pour it out somewhere where she's kind of going to see it. And then guess what? When she sees it, I'm going to get the beating. So at least I feel like I deserve it.
Yeah, because it really affected you to a point where you're like, I might as well, keep wanting it. I might as well keep experiencing it.
And to be honest with you, I did not think of it like that time. But now when I'm looking back at it, that must have been it. But why else would I go and do something that's going to get me beating up some more?
But have you ever gotten to a point where you say, Mara mama, why unshapa so mara?
No. That's why I'm saying later I'll tell you how it got to stop.
Yeah.
Because the conversation was not there. My mom is not much of a talker. My dad, on the other hand, guys, my dad was that guy who'd be like, I'm a teacher. This is the pay slip. This is where this money goes. How can I tell it?
That's it.
So when I was in high school, I was away from home. I knew that I can't ask for money on any other date than the 22nd. So on the 22nd, I don't even ask for money. I know it's coming. So my dad was the communicator. My mom was the beater. Like, umtana must be, But my dad, on the other hand, will always want to talk about it.
I think let's get to Reverend Fezile. How does this topic that we're on now resonate with you?
Yeah, I think in different people, the role of a mother is very important. But also her failure to observe and do certain things can, as you have alluded, wound us very deeply. In my experience, it is in the area of, I would say, secrets. It is in the area of secrets. Let me jump straight to the end in terms of how it has affected me. I'll go back to what happened. I don't like people hiding things that at a certain stage in my life will affect me, like negatively. If something is going to affect me negatively, I don't want to be blindsided. I want to see it miles off so that I can be able to strategize and be able to deal with it. I don't mind privacy. I always tell my son that. But I'm very, very concerned about secrets. I always put the difference on the table to say it's privacy if whatever that you are doing behind the closed doors, you don't want other people to be there and it's not gonna affect those people. But if it's gonna affect those people, you keep them away anyway, knowingly that it's gonna affect them negatively, then it's secrets. And in my house, can have that because your consequences are mine because you're still under my roof. So let's go to how did it affect, what happened that it ended up affecting me this way. I grew up in a house where I thought my grandmother was my mother, and I did not know that actually my sister is my real mother. What? I only found out at the age of 32. I mean, 32, I'm old, very old, like very, very old. Yeah. At the age of 32, that's when I was told. And I was not even probing that, I was probing something else. And when I was probing that, then this came up, shock of my life, So the person I always refer to mom was actually not mom. It is that thing of, our families back in the day believing that certain things are not supposed to be spoken, they should be kept under wraps. And now that made me to be very uneasy when it comes to, secrets. Because I grew up in front of these people, and my mother was here all this time. She was not anywhere else. She was here. But you mentioned earlier the point of neglect. That's when really I felt now that, okay, this woman neglected me. She was here when she was supposed to act, she did not act. There were things that I was in need of and she was capable of providing. She chose not to while she was here. And now it came out in a very different way. So it kind of wounded our relationship for a very long time. But over the years, we have managed, to mend things and find, our way to each other. And our relationship is much better now. But still, if, for example, my wife does something and she chooses not to tell me about it, even if it's not bad, my reactions is always over the top. Why? Because
I'm shocked. I don't know what to say. And I really want to stick to this for now, Boby, if you forgive me. When you were actually living with these two women in the same house, they both knew.
Actually, everybody who was older than me, like in the household, everybody who was older than me in the household knew. It was always a funny thing that I would go out play with other kids, and people in the street will be like, "Yo, you look like your firstborn sister. It's like you are her child more than your mother's child."
And what would be the reaction?
Yeah, I'll be like, okay, this was never said in her presence. It would be said when I'm playing with other people, So I'll be like, that's just funny. She's my sister, so yeah. But later in the years, when I found out, now it made sense.
Wherever there's a smoke, there's a fire.
It made sense. So I react very bad when it comes to when it comes to secrets. I don't like secrets.
Just to fast forward, just to share with us a bit of the experience when you find out.
Sure.
And when you find out, what was her reaction and how did both of you feel?
All right. To be honest, I don't remember her reaction. Because remember, she was the one who was telling me this. She was the one who was revealing the news. I went to her as my older sister to probe something else. Then she said, let's go and sit under the tree, away from everybody else. We went and sat under the tree. And she says, I knew this day will come, where you are asking for this. But let's start here first, Let's start with your mother. The person that you think is your mother is actually not your mother. My mother, who I thought was my sister at the time, is a person who's full of jokes, like she has sense of humor. So I thought, okay, there she goes. So I was laughing. I'm like, no, I'm not laughing. I'm serious about it. Your mother is not your mother. It's like, have you watched the soapy where say, John is not your father, but John is your father? Like she was saying, your mother is not your mother, but I'm your mother.
Sure.
And right then, like I felt like inside me, lights just went off. Things went like dark. And immediately, all those years where I felt somebody could have came in and rescued the situation where I needed, that kind of an intervention. And she was there and did not do anything. That it just made everything so dark. And for 6 months, could not talk to her. For 6 months, could not pick up a phone. I just picked up my everything and went back straight to Cape Town. It was during the school holidays. Picked up everything and went back to Cape Town. Never called, never said anything for entire 6 months. And of course, my life went very downward spiral kind of thing while I was in Cape Town because I was suffering. And when you're suffering due to an internal wound, the worst thing about it is that you cannot put your hand inside and pull something out. You see, when you are suffering with an external wound, like there is hope. You can watch it heal. You can watch it like in the process of healing, and like you wake up like, it's better than yesterday. But this one,
I can imagine.
it was just dark. It was so bad. So I don't remember her reaction very well because everything just went dark at the time when she was telling me. But mine is still vividly in my memory.
And did she have like I won't say a valid reason because there's no valid reason for a person to do that. But did she have an explanation of why she did that and why she carried that for so long?
She tried to because of course the first question would be, who, like my first question was, who else knows? Yeah. Then she said, as I put it to you, everybody who's older than you in the household actually knows. Yeah. And I said, then why was I the last person, to find? Am I the last person to find out? Then she tried to explain by saying, back in the day, these things are not spoken about openly, and it was decided within the family that you should be presented as mom's child instead of my child and stuff like that. But for me, it was a very, for the lack of a better expression in words, lame. It was very lame. And I felt that I did not deserve to be treated the way I was treated until I'm 32. At the age of 18, that's how I felt when I was standing in front of her. At the age of 18, I should have been told this. Okay, failure to do so at the age of 18. When I came back from the circumcision school, this is when now they sit down in a Xhosa culture and they actually tell you like seriously deep secrets about family and stuff like that. She was the one who was dealing with me, and I was shocked why she's the one who's talking to me, because I'm not watching at other initiates. Their mothers are talking to them. Why is my sister talking to me? And my mother is sitting over there not talking to me. Like, what's happening here? Kanti, the situation is like that. But even then, that was an opportunity. Yeah. She did not say. She did not say anything.
I can imagine what you went through, but I want to go back to Mama. My father was exactly like your mother. I used to take a rap for what my sister used to do, and I never used to understand why. But growing up, I then started asking myself questions. How was the upbringing on my father's side? And I don't know, is this a question that you ever asked yourself about your mother? Because I don't think in a normal day a person can just react the way they react.
I think in my mother's case, okay, obviously now that I'm older, because I believe in presenting the best version of yourself, and before you can even do that, you need to go back. Yeah. So when I was going back and I tried to check, even to this day we still tease her about it, because in my mother's case, I'm the firstborn. We are 3 children. Yes. The only person that did not get a real beating, I think, is my little brother, the last born. My sister, I think she got it to some extent, but as the firstborn, I got all of it, right? So when I checked my mom's background, I realized that she's coming from a very big family. And she was one of those people who were very ukhuthele. She works hard. While everybody else is lazing around, she's the one who's like, I'll help you. So she loved her parents to a point where she built her parents' house with her father, with her bare hands. At the age of 14, she was doing washing for everybody. So for her, frustration piled up. So when something frustrates her, she wants to quickly solve it. You understand? So to a point where now, I'll tell you now, my mom is 54, if not 50, no, she's 55 because it's 2025. She's 55. For the past 10 years or so, she doesn't want to do anything. She's just tired. If I'm driving with my sister to Mpumalanga, it's about 400 kilometers. We tell her we're coming, but we get there. She did not cook for that night because she's tired. And the entire time that you are there, you have to help with the house chores. She is tired. Why? Because she started when she was very young. So for her to have patience of raising kids and explaining to you that you shouldn't do that over and over again, the slap was quicker. So that had to be my understanding. So to this day, we joke about it, say, hey, Marawena. And she still struggles to communicate. She does not know how to say, because I feel like with her siblings, she could have said, even to her older siblings, to say, but mom is asking you to do that. Why are you not doing it? Instead, she would jump into it.
How has that affected you? Because I've heard Reverend say...
Actually, before we even go to her, I'm interested in how it affected your mother, because I'm hearing a generational thing here. I want to ask about her mother, but I don't want to go there. I want to find out about your experience with her, because obviously, growing up, you realize that now you are a woman. You are matured. You can say, you know what? I think the reason why my mother went through this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That actually made her to go through that. But how did that actually affected her, so that we can come to you and say, Wena, with how she was affected, this is how it affected you.
So for the most part of it, her mother was not a beater. She was very sweet. My grandmother was just very sweet. But she did not know how to defend her. Like, for instance, when the older siblings would say, I'm not going to fetch water, she did not say, but she also can't go. She's even younger. And that's what got to her. That's how she got affected, to say, if nobody else is going to help my parents, I'll do it. But in doing that, it was busy breaking her. Now she comes and she has her own family. My mother had me when she was 16. And then she had my sister, and then she had my brother, and only then she went back to school, right? She's going back to do grade 11. She's got 3 children. We are now staying at my father's, my paternal home, as to speak, because now she's lobolat and stuff like that. Blessed be the Lord, my dad never left, because, well, he's got his own wounds that made him say, I will not have my children raised by anybody else but myself. Hence, he's still here even today. I think, okay, I think he also loves my mom, but... But that's one side that he always said. But now, the way it affected her is that she became so short-tempered to a point where whatever she went through in terms of nobody protecting her, because beating up a child like that, every chance you get, it's you again not protecting the child. You see? You are not protecting the child, because there are other means. I remember there was a day where my dad comes home and my mom says, your child did 1, 2, 3, I want you to discipline her. And my dad was like, I was not part of it. I will not pick up a belt and start beating up a child for something that I was not even part of. And then my mom was like, okay, fine, I'll do the honors. And with my mom, Molato Hauboli, you can be naughty in the morning. When the sun comes down and you finally come to the house, we'll start there. And I saw this even in her grandchildren. Okay, not our children, but our Babumnani's children. This guy went missing the whole day, and she went throughout the whole village looking for him, and she didn't find him. When he came back, my mother was like, bath him, feed him, and when he's done, he must come and get his beating. Because that's the only way she believes. She doesn't believe in communicating. That's why I'm saying, to this day, she struggles to communicate. It was a coping mechanism. And when she tries to communicate these days, my sister will always say, no, Mama, what you actually meant to say was this. So she can't recognize that. I'll make an example. You'll cook a meal, and then you forget to put in the beetroot. And then she gets the plate she's eating. And then somewhere during her eating, she'll remember that there's no beetroot. And then she'll say, wasn't there supposed to be beetroot? And then we're like, oh yeah, we forgot. And then she says, no wonder this food has no taste.
But she's already eating the food.
How can the whole plate go to it? And beetroot that she does not. Earlier she said, beetroot is not really my thing. But now she's judging the entire plate. And then my sister corrects her immediately to say, what you mean to say is that, babies, you have forgotten beetroot, please come and add it. That's what you meant to say. Yes. So she can't communicate. The only communication she knows is action. So now because she can't beat us up, she acts here. But now what comes out here is vile. But because we are aware of that, my sister does not get tired. She will tell her, Mom, what you meant to say is this.
But which is a good thing, because now she's actually healing her, and she's advising her, and she's trying to help her on how to see things in a different way and the right language to speak.
But the issue that I always have with her is she will find a reason why she said the plate did not taste nice. She'll want to explain it. Why are you explaining it? I'm telling you that you shouldn't have said it that way. Try and say it this way. Then you'll see her, if we're there long enough, then you'll see her saying the wrong thing first, and then she corrects herself immediately. So maybe it is working.
Remember, defensiveness as well is a sign of some kind of fear in a way, you know, because you expose yourself to a situation, and later you're like, I'm wrong, but at first you were like, I don't have the guts to say I'm wrong.
It's what I said earlier, to say you need to acknowledge first. You can't take accountability until you have acknowledged that there is a problem. And that's the issue with my mom. My mom, you'll tell her that we're telling her that you need to mix ginger and garlic and this and this and this and drink for a condition that she has. And then she's like, why don't you bring them? And then she went on to say, you are able to bring me all the other things that are busy killing me, but you don't want to bring them. Like, why are you saying that?
The thing about a wound is it changes how you view life. It changes how you see people. So to her, she might have grown physically, but remember, she's still fighting that inner child that is still there. So in her psychological mind, she's still in those years where she has to exactly. And then now the physical body is here. So the small her, it's leading instead of the big her leading.
But how has that affected you then? Just to answer this question.
I'm a beta, but I'm a light beta.
You're a better. It's like you're talking to Ian now.
And I found this out about myself very early, which is what has helped me. Again, if you can pinpoint the problem, you are able to harness it in such a way that it works for you instead of against you. For instance, if I've got nieces and nephews, I will watch you let your child get away with everything, and then I start telling you that you don't want me to take over.
No.
Because if I do...
No, I don't.
And one thing, once I beat up that child, I'll only beat him or her once. And from that day on, me and that child will be best friends. I did this to my brother's child. He was 4 at the time. He caused such a scene in the mall. It's me, my son, he was 9 at the time, and my sister-in-law. And I'm watching this woman, like, where are you getting your child? Because you don't want me to get him now. So I do have that element of a child will not get disciplined until they get a proper beating.
Because you were used to that.
Because
that's what you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But now, because I also acknowledge that, I know that I can't just keep on beating. So I beat that boy up in that mall until people were like, okay, Sesiku, enough. Because they watched him do what he was doing, and I'm sure they were just as annoyed. And this sister is busy walking around here and saying, like calling him by name, and I'm like, Then I grabbed him. Ne? My son was so disturbed. Why is he disturbed? Because I don't beat him up all the time. But have I ever beaten him up? Definitely. Because, and my son is a very sweet child. But sometimes a child will need some sort of training, right? So I beat that child up. To this day, we are best friends. When I come, like, auntie this, auntie that, auntie
So
this.
his behavior has changed.
Exactly. Until his mother comes into the room, you'll hear him from the other room, oh, there he goes again. All I have to do is step out, look at him,
Stop it.
and then I don't even say anything. I just look at him, and he gets back into normal. So do I believe in beating? I do. I believe that when it is done properly, it actually assists in disciplining the child. But exactly. But you don't beat up a child to kill a child. Like I say, I will not beat you up this month and next month and the next month. That's just too frequent. When I beat you up, it must shock you out of that behavior that you're busy with into a new one. Because I've been saying to you, stop it, Nana. You can't do it this way. I communicate. I talk. I'm the talker, because I feel that I needed that from my mother. And luckily for me, because I knew I needed that very early, then it was easy for me to say, let me try the communication. But I'm not going to disregard the stick altogether. No.
But I think it's funny because with the beating mechanism, even when you're trying to discipline the child, you still have that thing in your head that, oh God, if you try that. So you don't have that enough patience to discipline. And I want Rev to come in now to just explain to us, is the way mama disciplines, are you always okay with that, or you think there's another way that she could do? Is she patient enough with the different way of disciplining?
All right, I'll answer this question in 2 ways. One, we, as a couple, we have decided on so many things in terms of how they should be done at home. And the foundation of everything that we do is teamwork. That's the foundation of everything. So that we don't confuse the child, but also we check each other. Because remember, sometimes these wounds can be a launching pad, can be like a place where we act from. So somebody needs to check you out. So secondly, I don't mind her, her beating, because there's a prior agreement that even if it's you or it's me who's doing the beating, you cannot act from a place of pain while doing it. There's a proper way of doing it. Just remember that you are just cautioning a child, but using a certain measure. I also want to mention something from the scriptures as well. As much as the scripture says, do this and do this and do that and do that and do that, what we always ignore in terms of this area is the scripture telling us how to do these things and why we should do them. In the why we should do them, there is how we should do them. Because as much as the scripture says it is good that we discipline our child through a smack or a beating, as you would mention it, but it also openly says, also you parents, do not bring your child into a space or an area of anger. Now, that for me, it says, you need to check yourself, why are you beating the child? Because it talks to that. So it's important that we also check that. We cannot always say, no, God is even endorsing this. In his word, he says, I must do it. But we must also check how it must be done. So when it comes to her, and when it comes to me, we are always checking each other out. If she has gone, like ngamandla, like she has gone like strongly. After it's done and the kid is not around and we are sitting. Okay, first of all, when it's happening and I can see, she's going through, I would get up. I would get up and go out because I'm highly likely to undercut her if ever I stay. I'm highly likely to say something. So I'll go out and let her do whatever she does and finish. Then when the child is not around, I would say, hey, Nkosikazi, hey, you really went hard.
But I'm glad that you have a conversation about it, and it's something that you've dealt with, because I think the other day, when we had the other two ladies were talking about the divorce, they said it's very important as a couple to actually, communicate about certain things that you do in a marriage, including children, But I want to go back to your story about your mother, who was once a sister, How did that affect you? I mean, finding out at the age of 32, we already struggle at the age of 22 about certain things. My mother and my father, they separated when I was at the age of 7. They never divorced. But the way they used to fight, the way my father used to beat me up, even beating me up for my sister's, mistakes, that really affected me so much. But at the age of 32, how have you dealt with that? But before, how have you dealt with that? Answer first, how did that affect you?
As I said earlier, it made me an overcautious person when it comes to secrets. There are relationships that I did cut, and I went away. I decided I'm no longer going to be friends with these people after I found out certain things that I felt they could have been said, and they were not said. And when I look back now at those things, they were not that big. It was just me triggered, and overreacted. So as I said earlier, it affected me in that way. So I'm very cautious now, like overcautious, so to speak, when people are keeping secrets and stuff like that. As a result, I don't stay in those environments. I believe in openness. As a result, sometimes I'm too open. Sometimes I talk. I would tell myself that
I'm not going to say that.
I'm not going to tell her that I have 800 rand somewhere. Then few hours later, Kirem said, what's if I can 800 rand to somewhere? I don't know how I got to that, but I end up getting to it because I'm no longer used to, hiding things. And she can easily see now when I'm hiding something because I'm not good at it. So it has affected me in that way. What was the second question? Again, because
so after being affected and you realize, you acknowledge that this is how I've been affected by this, how have you dealt with that?
Yeah. Okay. First of all, I think as I said earlier, that my life kind of went downward spiral during that period of 6 months. God said to me one day, Listen, I don't mind you know, going through whatever you go through, taking your time. You know, I understand something is happening like in your life. But you need to understand one thing. You are 32, right? You are old. You need to come back, because if ever you don't, you're gonna die here. Like, this is gonna kill you. So you need to find a way. Then I asked how. Then he said to me, there is only one way. You need to forgive your parents and everybody else who knew, not for them, but for you. Your only way to salvation here is that you need to forgive them. So I still remember it was an afternoon, I don't know whether Tuesday or Wednesday, but it was on an afternoon during the week. I went to a container, you know, to call my parents for the first time in a very long time. And I called my sister and my mother. And I say, listen, I forgive you for everything that you did and stuff like that. So that was my first step towards, you know, healing. Then after that, I knew that something in me has kind of changed. I need to be aware in terms of, you know, the triggers and stuff like that. But up to this day, I always watch myself in terms of how do I react, especially given the relationship that I had to let go. And when I look back, I realized it was not that serious of a secret for me, you know, to let go of a relationship. So now I check myself. I even talk about it with my wife. Then she would be the one who said, no, it's not a big deal really. And then I'm able to say, okay, at least I can take that. So I've managed to, you know, to talk about how I feel. I've managed to talk about it. I think one of the things that were a big problem during that period of 6 months, I was not talking to anyone. People just saw me going through something and they did not know what is it, and I was not ready to talk about it for a very long time, and it really, you know, messed me up, so to speak.
Your relationship with other people as well.
It did big time, and I remember it affected my performance because I was in university. Affected my academic performance, affected how I was doing, you know, in social structures, because I was part of the Christian student movement. It affected me there. It was just bad. It was so bad. But after I've talked to my mom and professed my forgiveness to everybody, then things started moving towards a certain direction. This big, you know, boulder that was sitting on my shoulders, all of a sudden, you know, it was kind of gone, and I was ready, you know, to heal and talk about it openly to people. So that's how I've managed to do it, talking. That's
I'm going to go to Coach D, right? I hear Reverend is speaking about his parents, his triggers, how he noticed that he had a problem, But I want to come to you. There's a woman out there who's married. She's not sure that the behaviors and the patterns that she sees in the husband is a mother wound. What are those patterns that you were seeing in the marriage? I mean, when you met him, he already went through that. So you're actually the person who was experiencing that. You're the person who sees the dark side. So what were those patterns that you were seeing? And how did it affect you? Because that is so important. And the third question is, how did you move past it?
Okay. In terms of patterns, obviously, when you stay with somebody full time, you are going to see things.
Yeah.
And this is one thing about marriage, right? It exposes you to yourself, it exposes you to the next person. And luckily for us, because we courted for a very short time, because we're both born again Christians, so we don't jola. So we only got to jola after the wedding. So now we decided that we're not going to have a child, because that's another wisdom that God just gave us, to say, you don't know each other. So you can't bring a child into this mix, because, you know, pregnancy comes with these things. Now, during this first year of our marriage, we are dating within the marriage, because we never really got to, right? And now I'm starting to understand, but why is this person not talking? Like me, I'm a talker, right? I speak. I believe in bring it to the table, let's talk about it. I don't understand this thing, Yakore. I don't feel like it now. Let's do it later. What? What is that? How are we going to fix it? I believe in communication. So those are one of the things that you can see, that somebody is going through something, but they're not saying anything. And then when you ask, they're like, no, I'm yeke. Oh, what? Yeke? I don't understand that year, because the fact that I'm seeing it.
Yeah.
If you did not want to talk about it, it's one thing. But once I recognize that there's something, it calls you out of your hole now. Let's talk about it. Because I've picked it up.
Yeah.
So it doesn't help for you to say, no, we're already here, you know? So those are some of the things. And then with the secrets thing, I'm like, a small thing, why didn't you tell me? I remember this
You
one.
start sounding like an insecure man now. Why did you do?
And actually, even during our courtship, I remember one day he calls me. I'm in a workshop. I'm an artisan as well, right? So I'm busy in the workshop. So in the workshop, you're not supposed to use your cell phone. So I forgot my phone in the dorm room. Lunch break, I go there. So many missed calls. And when I saw the number of missed calls, I put it back under there and I went back to the dorm room. When I came back at the end of the day, more. Then I put it there and I went to the gym. Then after I had showered and I'd had my dinner, I bought minutes. Then I went and sat in the car and I said, hello.
I don't want to hear the response.
I can imagine.
And that day, that's when I knew whether or not we're going to continue with this marriage or not. Am I going to marry this guy or not? Because one of the things that I needed to bring to light very quickly was that I'm in mining. I'm in a male-dominated industry. So if you have insecurity issues, because I didn't know it was called secrets, right? If you have insecurity issues, this is not going to work. I already have guy friends that you're going to find, that you're finding as you're coming into this life of mine, that you're going to have to make peace with. And if you can't, now is the time. Now, we haven't signed anything. At that time, I think I had not told my parents yet because this thing happened so fast, right? I think after that conversation, that's when I went and told my parents to say, this is happening, I met this guy, blah, blah, blah. But the conversation there was, because for him, it was like, I was worried about you the whole day, this and that. And then I said to him, I remember this very well. You are 2 minutes into my life. If something were to happen to me, you'll probably be the last person to know. So you should be okay with that.
Wow. That's not the answer that David was waiting for. Oh.
My sister, my parents, everybody, my friends, they will know before you know. Why? Because you are 2 minutes old into my life. And then we talked about that because for me, it was, what is this insecurity? What have I done now? And then I remember saying to him, you are going to give me a clean page. Because he had told me stories about his previous relationship. Obviously, that's what dating or courtship is. I need to know where you come from, right? Especially relationship-wise, especially romantic relationship-wise. And then I said to him, you're going to give me a blank page that I'm going to start writing my own story. I don't know what happened. It was like I pressed a switch. Because from that day on, I never had to explain. If I'm going to come home late, I'll be the one to pick up the phone and say, babe, please be aware that I'm running late. It's like, okay, love, sharp. You will not see my husband while I'm sitting with my friends. He's busy calling every 2 minutes. Kanti, when are you? You will never see that. And I thank God that day happened. Because after that, he said to me, I heard you. And we will continue with this. And this just confirms that you're actually my wife. Because nobody stands before me and tells me that I will be the last person to know. When I'm showing so much care, I'm worried that you are dead, you know? And that was a very beautiful foundation. So when I continue to see such persons, now when I started realizing that, there's this big secret that was kept from him. So more than it is insecurity, it is just him not wanting to find himself in a place where he finds out something very big because he was looking for signs for secrecy. Is this clear? You know? And that comes from a place of brokenness, obviously.
But I'm very glad that you are in this relationship and both of you came into this relationship wounded. You know? But I'm intrigued by how you dealt with it. And I can assure you, healing, it takes time. And today, maybe if you can share with us, what are some of the things that you still pick up from her as a person, even though she was able to deal with them? Because, they always say we put pressure on men. Now we're talking about him doing that and that and that. Maybe take us there as well and then say, but today this is what she still goes through and this is how she's able to deal with them. Because hearing from the horse's mouth, sometimes we hear it differently,
Let me put it this way. I have this, this is the belief that I've developed over time. Marriage gives you certain experiences and you learn from them. I believe that in any relationship, marriage, especially marriage, I'll say, especially marriage, that every member, of that relationship, both you and the wife, you are painters, right? You are painters. And you are a painter that is painting a picture of your wife or of your husband openly while she's watching.
Wow.
Like you're standing there painting the picture, she's sitting over there watching you painting her picture. Whatever you paint in that canvas, it's what you're going to get. She slowly turns to what you are busy painting. Wow. So if there are things that you are seeing and you are not painting them because maybe you are afraid of confrontation, or maybe you are afraid that things can get worse, or whatever reasons, she will, and you pretend that those areas are not there. Instead of putting shade, darker shades, you put lighter shades. She's gonna she's gonna think that she's perfect, and that's what you're going. That's what you're going to get. So it is important that when you are painting that picture, we know that every painter and every artist, in the artwork, there is, his personality that comes into it. It's important that your personality is there, but most importantly, it's important that you don't hide what you see in her as well. So that as much as she's watching herself, she can also be able to say, now the person that is busy painting me there is my husband. So that even if another person comes and tries to paint, the picture that is always in her is that the person who paints me better is my husband, because I know the personality of the painter. I can see it when I'm watching the canvas. So in answering your question, every flaw and every excellence that I have seen in her, it is very important, it has been very important for me to make sure that it's not hidden. It's actually painted so that she can be able to see, so that she continues,
Look at the smile.
so that she continues to be a better person, improve where she needs to improve, and she continues to be, a greater person in the area that she's already better on. For example, what she just narrated right now, she did not hide it. She said, let me paint what I see in you through what you've just done right now. If you're gonna continue doing this, I want you to understand that this is the person that you are. And when I said, I heard you, when I said to her, I heard you, and this is no longer happening again, it is because for the first time, somebody painted a picture of me and I looked at it and I did not like. I said, don't want to be that guy.
Getting to this perfect picture, now the painter, what role do you play?
As a painter? Okay. What do I do, like, with the picture? Oh, yeah. Okay. First of all, it is important that when there are things that we don't understand about the picture, we ask the artist, what does this mean? So that we don't misinterpret what he or she was painting. He knows better. So my role as a painter is to interpret in areas where I can clearly see that she's not getting the totality of the picture. Then I'm able to come in there and say, I know you think this is just beautiful, but let me show you how deep it goes as a painter. You lead. That's what I do. So that is my role as a painter. So that as much as she sees what I have painted, she gets, the spirit and the character behind the painting.
I think
as well.
also as a painter, it is so important, even when you're painting and you're painting truth, that you paint with good thoughts. Always have good thoughts about your partner. Have that picture, that perfect picture that you want them to become, but still at the same time painting who they are.
I'll give you an example of what you're saying. When I first got into the marriage, one of the things that I just could not do was say that I'm sorry. Because my mom would beat me up and not say sorry later. Even if she beat me up by mistake and she realizes that, no, actually I shouldn't have. She's not going to come back and say, sorry, baby, I shouldn't have. No.
I thought it's only men.
And
So
so
now-
is the magical word.
Exactly. So now I'm in this marriage and this guy's waiting for me to say I'm sorry. And I'm like, but I just explained, Mus, that says that I'm sorry. And he's like, no, you're going to have to say the words. And I remember our first arguments were like, why are you still even calling me baby if you're refusing to say sorry? And then my
Yes, Rev. Yes. I'm a sorry person because I know how sorry fix things.
For me, I'm like, I explained to you what happened. Why must I still go? And it's like, I'm waiting for the magic word, ma'am. I hear the explanation. I remember we're driving to Burgersford that day. He parked the car and he was like, you are going to say that you are sorry. Because we are arguing and I keep on saying, but baby, I explained. And baby, he's like, you are even going to stop. You might as well call me Fez because you're refusing to say that you are sorry. And that wound where sorry for me is like, who's ever said sorry? My mom just continues with life as if she's done nothing wrong. Even the day that the beating stopped, I said I was going to come back to that story, right? I'm busy cleaning the floor. She wanted to beat me up because I broke a bucket. We're coming from fetching water with my cousin. And then I'm complaining that, why is this bucket smaller? Or something like that, something petty. You know, I'm a child. Then she came. Then I dropped the bucket and it broke. Later, because I know Khurumalato Hauboli anyway, I decided, you know what, let me just continue and go and clean the floor. Took another bucket and I'm busy. I could hear her footsteps coming. And that day I decided this will be the last time this woman beats me up. She's holding a belt. The belts back then were only leather, guys. There was no plastic belts.
Real leather, eh? Junior
She's got my
leather.
father's belt. My dad is a teacher, so he's not home yet. I'm a baby, so I'm wearing shorts. As she hits, I hummed a song. It's like, and then she did it and she did it and she did it until she realized that, number one, I'm not even twitching. I'm continuing with whatever I'm doing because today I've made up my mind that this is it. Later that night, I heard her tell my dad that, who's going to kill who here? Then she was narrating the story that what happened. And then when I was beating her up, she just did not move until that was the last time my mother beat me up. And you see, she's telling my dad, but she's not coming back to say, I'm sorry. Now I'm in a marriage where I'm supposed to say, so what? What? And he had to take it out of me.
Yeah, let's talk about this. When your mother was beating you up and you said, I'm not going to cry this time around, I'm just going to hum a song, I'm not going to say anything. What was going through your mind?
I actually removed myself from the situation. I took my mind. You know the power of the mind.
Yeah.
This is why I believe the Bible says your mind must be transformed.
Yes.
Because unless the mind is transformed, you are stuck in the same situation. So physically, I was being beaten. But in my mind, I took myself to a songland and I was humming a song. So I only felt the pain after because I can see the bruises and I also feel, oh, okay. But in that moment, I decided to take myself out of the situation. And I put myself in another land where there's no beating here, we're just singing. And then I was like,
How dangerous that can be.
It's very, very dangerous because it means you are avoiding what's currently happening. You can actually wake up dead because you were not present. Remember, you removed yourself. So if whatever was happening to you was going to kill you, you will not realize until you're dead. That's how dangerous it is.
Can I also, your question, how dangerous this can be? I want to just come into that very quickly. Yes, it can be very dangerous as she explains it, but also it can be something very, very powerful. You call it, a mental situation. I call it a faith situation.
Yes,
I call it a faith situation. Doctors, they call it placebo and nocebo effect. Placebo effect is when the doctors are testing maybe a new medicine and stuff like that, but they are not sure yet whether it's worked because they are going to call people for trials and stuff. Maybe they're going to, out of these 10 people, they're going to give 5 water and 5 the medicine that they are testing. And they believe that they've been given the same medicine. The power of the mind or the power of faith, them believing that they've been given the same medicine, can actually heal them. Yes. That's the placebo effect. Then there is a nocebo effect. The nocebo effect is, there's a story in Japan that is told where guys were through a boat, they were going to deliver some frozen foods. When after they've delivered and they are ready to go, one of the workers was accidentally closed inside. And now the boat is leaving and nobody's realizing that there's a guy that was closed inside. Then they find that guy later frozen to death and dead. But the problem is the freezer or the engine that runs the freezer was turned off. But the guy believed in his head that the freezer is actually on. So he wrote the story down, that how the whole thing of him dying happened. He narrates in the story that the feet started freezing, like ice and everything up until his neck. Then he said, when it got to my hands, I could not write anymore. I dropped the pen. And when he was examined, they actually, everything in the body indicated that the guy was frozen.
No, I believed in that.
Faith has that power. It can take you out of the situation and throw you somewhere. It's such that sometimes when we're supposed to use it, we don't use it. When we're not supposed to use it, we use it.
But I think it also gets affected by the wounds as well, because I'm a person who deals with that law, who lives by that law every day. I could tell you the things that I have, the things that I've received, the problems that I've solved them with that faith, and it works. The thing is, once you realize that it works, that's when it doesn't work anymore, because that's when fears come in. Yes. That's when the wounds come in. That's when you realize, I have this power, but I don't believe that I have this power. Just before we wrap up, I want to get to you, because there's a lot of women that don't want to confront their partners. Yes. There's a lot of women that fear that the relationship might end. But I want to know from you as a man, do you really want us to confront you? And when she did, how did it affect you? How did it save you? Did you want that?
Okay, let me put it this way, and this would sound like I'm being silly. I'm gonna talk from male perspective. Yeah. I'm not claiming to be speaking for every man in the world. Yeah. Approaching a man is not a sport.
Yeah.
We
know that.
It's not a sport. In sport, for you to win, you have to impose your will and your strategy and your way of play over your opponent. That's how sport works, right? But approaching a man is not a sport. If you want to win, if you want to, to get to a place where you are understood, you need to have a situation where you consider your approach. Like, your approach is very, very important. No man in the world that I've come across says, I don't want to be approached. Wow. I don't want my woman to come and actually talk to me. I hate that. No, we want to be approached. But how you approach a man is very important. And this, what will help our women is understanding what the word says about men, and what will help our men is understanding what the word says about the woman. The word says that women honor and respect your men, because we interpret love in that way. And it says men love your woman because we interpret respect via love. So when you approach your men, I mean, if you go via respect route, I promise you, whatever you are going to say is gonna land. There is a pastor that was preaching somewhere, and he said, like, he was talking to the entire church, and he said, why do you think that man is comfortable in that mukuku, left you with the mansion, but is comfortable in that mukuku? Is because the sister in that mukuku has found a way of talking to him. Most of the time, insofar as men are concerned, our relationships, they broke down at the point of talking. If you're coming to me each and every time, and the way you approach me, it makes me feel that, for example, I stopped the car, she says, and I said, It doesn't matter how much you explain. I'm not going to hear anything until you say sorry first. What was I demanding? Respect. Yes. I wanted respect first. Then after that, you can start explaining, I'm willing to listen. So I'm saying we are willing to be approached. But how you approach us is everything.
Coach D, men are saying, don't approach me as if you're approaching a sport. Or you're going to play sport. What do you say about men to women?
I think after 13 years of marriage, it will stop being about the bottle of water and be about how you approached him. Okay. It's that deep. Ne? Once he says, I hear you, but the way in which you approach... I remember earlier in the marriage, I used to say to him, please say it the way that I was supposed to say it.
Because you don't know how to say
Guide me.
Because the more he explained, the more confused I became, because I'm a straight talker. If it's white, it's white. If it's black, it's black. And then he says, even though you're going to white, there's also a gray area that you must come through. And I used to say to him, please say it the way that I was supposed to say it. And then he will say it. And then I'm like, but that's not entirely what I'm saying. You know? Yeah. So, like he says, I think we're doing a Valentine's gala in Klerksdorp this year, when he explained the difference in how a woman is wired versus how a man is wired. And I think for me, even though over the years I've been trying to say, okay, I get you, until that day when he was standing there and he explained the distinction between how a woman is wired versus how a man is wired as per the Bible, I was free.
Rev, you're going to have to teach us.
Everybody watching this. In a nutshell, what he was saying was that a man thinks from A to B. For a woman to get to B, there's A.1, 0.2, 0.3 before they can actually get to B. The 10 rand that you left in your pocket while I was doing watching is actually connected to the fact that you also left your socks on the floor. But for a man, how did you get to the socks when we're talking about the 10 rand? So if you can understand how a man is wired, it's easier for you to say, okay, now he's doing a man thing. And then you are able now to say, oh, okay, I'm so sorry that I approached you that way. Let's try again. And my husband, once you say sorry, Aisha meets water under the bridge.
He's like me. Like, I love sorry.
I don't like sorry.
It's over. Like, if you say sorry,
I don't like sorry. For me, before we get to the sorry, we need to have dealt with the mess first. Because I feel like when you say sorry, you're trying to get to the end before we... so I feel like you're going to do it again. I feel sorry is so easy.
The trust
exactly.
From the wound.
Exactly. Yeah. So again, I want you to explain to me, why did you hurt me the way that you hurt me? And what was going through your mind when you decided to hurt me? And after we have discussed all of that, then you can say, I am so sorry. Then I'll take it. But if I say, you hurt me, I feel this way, and then you say, oh, I'm so sorry, my wife, I'm like, whoa, what are you sorry for? You haven't heard what I said you did? So it doesn't work.
So with him is a short route, yours is a long route.
So, but then the day he explained the difference in how we are wired, I remember even last night we were having this conversation to say, my husband, I'm your helper. And every time you don't utilize me,
I'm your helper. Oh, God.
Every time you don't utilize me, you're going to fall into the ditches. And there's never going to be a day where you're going to be experienced enough to walk without a helper.
You just mentioned something very important, because I want you now to speak to the women out there. We've got women in high positions, in offices, in departments, anywhere. And you realize that the very same women are married, but they behave like they're not helpers because of the mother wounds or the father wounds. What would you like to say to them?
Number one, I always say that the first relationship or the most important relationship that you need to have is a relationship with yourself. If you are a CEO, that is a relationship that you need to acknowledge. And once you step out of that office and you become a wife, oh my God, you need to shed the CEO uniform, because otherwise that marriage is not going to work. Because every time he feels like he's talking to a CEO, he's going to tell you things like, I'm not one of your subordinates. And every time he says that, you are supposed to draw back instead of defending it. You're supposed to draw back and say, okay, it means I forgot to shed my CEO uniform.
But and now you defend.
But once you say, You're not going to make me feel like being a CEO is a sin. I can see.
And that's what happens in most cases.
That's what happens in most cases. But once you have a good relationship with yourself, you bring what I call the best version of yourself to the table. You know when to be a CEO, you know when to be a mentor, you know when to be a mother, you know when to be a wife. And the Bible says you are a suitable helper. In other words, there's no other woman that was supposed to be next to this man other than yourself. Which is why last night I said to him, there's never going to be a time, even if we can be 50 years married, you will still need me as your
And
husband.
that cuts off all this manner of insecurity.
It cuts off a whole lot of... on the 6th of September, I was speaking in a conference and I was talking about dominion. You only can fully access your dominion provided you are in your position.
Yo.
Once you want to move...
We needed to hear that.
Listen, when God created us, he said, have dominion, right? In order for you as an individual to be able to fully access your full potential in terms of dominance, you need to be in your position. The minute you want to move from your place of submission and you want to go and lead, you're going to fail.
Yeah.
You're going to fail. Why? You're not failing because you're not a good leader. You are a CEO, so you are leading people. But you can't lead here because this is not your position.
Yeah.
You are more effective there as a CEO, but here you are more effective as a helper. So you need to know when to be what at what time. And if you can do that, and I always say that you can never master these things unless you've got the Holy Spirit that's guiding you to say, you're a wife, hello, you're a wife, you're a wife, you're not a CEO here. And then when you get to the office, people, when you're a CEO, people will ask you, how does your husband cope with you? Only to find out that he copes well because when you get there, you're no longer the CEO. And that's where you're going to dominate. You are not going to dominate trying to be the leader when you're supposed to be the helper. It doesn't work. As much as they've got their flaws, we've got our own flaws. But what complements for my flaws is the fact that he is in his position. What complements for his flaws is the fact that I'm in his position. So when he needs help, I'm able to say, be careful, there's a ditch there. Instead of me saying, didn't you see that there's a ditch there? You see that difference? And this is what he's referring to say, the point the point can be very valid, but how you bring it across. And it's never going to change, guys. We can't reinvent the wheel when it comes to life. God has already designed this thing. Again, in that conference, I said that when you're a single lady, dominate in your singlehood. So that when you become a wife, there's nothing that you have not done there that you still miss. The problem with us is that while we are single, we want to take from being married. Now all of a sudden you are ironing this guy's pants, but what are you? Okay, cut.
I hope I'm not doing that mistake.
I wish we could continue, but we have run out of time. I wish we could have more time. But thank you so much for being with us. This was very informative. It was very inspiring. And a lot of wounds will be healed. A lot of marriages will be saved. A lot of discovery from each and every person. Thank you so much, but we will have you next time so that we can, continue with this conversation.
This was a lovely conversation. I mean, I've learned so much, Boby. I have learned how to approach men now. I am still single, and I have learned that I should enjoy my position as a single person and stop stealing from the marriage life.
By the time you get there, it's so empty. You're like, this is what they mean by marriage.
Exactly.
It's because you stole from your own marriage before you even got there.
Exactly. And what you mentioned as well that I've learned from your statement is to say things do happen for a reason in our lives. God take us through those experiences because he knows where he's taking us. Because some of us, and especially majority of people out there, they wouldn't be able to handle situations that they are faced with today had they not gone through those journeys.
I always say that what you go through most of the time has nothing to do with you.
Exactly.
It's not about you.
No, it's not about you. No, it's true. It's about the purpose.
Yes.
It's about saving the purpose.
Exactly.
But thank you so much for joining us. It has been lovely. I always enjoy having a conversation, especially such conversations. But Boby, before we leave, Boby, I know you're a coach, right? Yes, you always talk to me every time. She always counsels me. But I want you to counsel ladies that are out there, men that are out there, that they have actually figured out today that I still have those wounds. I have never dealt with them. And I'm facing a problem, and it's a big giant. I don't even know where to start. What would be your advice to them?
I think I'll just make it short to say that healing is an everyday thing. The wound might have shaped you, but definitely doesn't define you. Healing starts when you are kind to yourself, when you see yourself with compassion instead of criticism, instead of judgment. And it starts once you confront those emotions, be true to yourself, face your darkness. I always say everybody has a demon side. So face that demon side and know that there is a better person behind that wound. So thank you so much for joining us on the Wellness Talk. Remember, every conversation, it is a step forward to healing, awareness and transformation. Until next time, keep healing. Yeah.